And then I came up, my old friend Wilfred Brimley. I said, you know, I have a wonderful, I love her so much. He said, she's younger than I am. He said, let me tell you something, my friend, the worst thing for an old man is an old woman.
If Hollywood can't kill you with fame, it will kill you with silence. That was the last line Robert Duvall spoke on camera, and it cut into the memory of those who once knew Gene Hackman, a friend, a colleague, and perhaps the greatest victim of the film world. For decades, Hollywood remembered Hackman as a legend who retired in peace, but Duvall insisted none of us leaves peacefully, least of all Gene. Why did Duvall, after so many years of keeping quiet, choose to speak now? From that sentence, a mystery thought to be closed suddenly opened again. Was Gene Hackman's death seemingly a natural tragedy, truly as peaceful as people believed? And why did Robert Duvall wait until age 95 to reveal everything? Let's follow each trace to understand what really happened inside that silent house in Santa Fe that day. I knew Gene long enough to understand that if something was wrong, he'd be the first to sense it. But this time, he was silent. Early on the morning of February 26, 2025, a pale mist hung over the Santa Fe sky. Wind from the Sangre de Cristo Range drifted in, carrying a chill and the dry earthen smell of the desert. At the end of Canyon Road, the house at 42A, where Gene Hackman had lived in seclusion for more than 20 years, stood motionless in the dim light. The iron gate was shut, curtains drawn, not a sound. To neighbors, it was strange. Mr. Hackman had never missed a morning walking his 3 dogs along the quiet street. But for 7 days straight, no one had seen him leave the house. At around 8:47 a.m., Calvin Reyes, the community's electrical maintenance worker, drove over to check the system after noticing that Hackman's meter had barely moved. He went to the gate and knocked 3 times, 5 seconds apart. No reply. He called softly, "Mr. Hackman," but only the faint hum of a fan came from inside. Glancing through a side window, Reyes saw a glass of water tipped over on the wooden floor, the light reflecting on the surface like mercury stains. A bad feeling made him step back, pull out his phone, and call Raymond Ortiz, the neighborhood security guard. Ortiz arrived at 8:59 a.m. The two circled the house, tried each door, all locked. No pry marks, no footprints on the sandy ground. The house looked frozen, Ortiz said. They called the police. At 9:34 a.m., 2 Santa Fe Police Department patrol cars pulled up, Units 214 and 226. Lieutenant Megan Rowe, 41, led the team, accompanied by Officer Tom Weaver and crime scene specialist Leo Martinez. When the iron gate opened, the wind sifted through the wild pear trees, carrying a biting cold. Rowe used a master key to open the front door. As it cracked, a gust of cold air spilled out, laced with the smells of medicine wood, wax, and rusted metal. Inside, the light was dim. Heavy curtains were drawn. Only thin slivers of light cut through illuminating dust motes hanging in the air. The living room was neatly arranged. Landscape paintings Hackman had painted himself covered the walls. A vintage piano lay under a fine film of dust, and a low bookshelf was crammed with old film magazines. Everything was so still you could hear the soft touch of shoes on the wood floor. Lieutenant Rowe swept her flashlight down the hallway. A fine layer of dust covered the floor, except for a single track of footprints leading from the front door to a turn into the kitchen. The prints were shallow, heading inward, with no prints leading back out. The beam found its end where a body lay on its side against the wall. It was Gene Hackman. He lay motionless and still touching the spilled glass. His face was calm, to an eerie degree, eyes slightly open, lips gently pressed, as if he'd been about to finish a sentence. No wounds, no bruising. The old watch on his wrist had stopped at 3:17 a.m. On the floor, the water had dried into a faint ring, with a few drops of old liquor around it, carrying a light sour smell. Roe moved on, following the narrow hall to the bathroom. The door was ajar. Her beam fell on the wet tile where Betsy Arakawa Hackman's wife lay, on her side beside the sink. Her hair was damp, a white bathrobe clung wet against her, and a bottle of antibiotics had dropped near her foot. The wall clock in the bathroom read 3:18. A small window was open, cold air drifting in and making the curtain tremble. No signs of struggle, no broken items, only a trace of damp and the faint scent of antiseptic. When the forensics team arrived at 10:10 a.m., they photographed collected samples, then broadened the search to other rooms. In the bedroom, police found a wardrobe locked from the outside. When they broke the latch, they found a yellow Labrador Xena curled up with eyes shut. The other two dogs hid under the dining table, trembling but alive. Scratch marks gouged deep into the wardrobe door, a detail that made Roe pause, though she didn't enter it into the main report. A full inventory was taken, valuable paintings, watches, cash, jewelry, nothing missing. However, specialist Martinez noted several irregularities. The security camera system's hard drive had been removed entirely. Only the power cable remained. The back kitchen door was pulled nearly closed, its hinges showing fresh rotation marks. The power meter showed a shutoff between 2:00 and 6:00 a.m. on the night in question. At 11:55 a.m., the ambulance took the bodies to the city morgue. The police preliminary report stated clearly no signs of forced entry or altercation. 2 decedents died days apart, cause likely natural. No property loss. That afternoon, the Santa Fe New Mexican ran a short piece, Hollywood legend Gene Hackman dies at home at 95. Police confirm no signs of foul play. Most major outlets followed with similar headlines. Television replayed footage of Hackman accepting his 1972 Oscar, the anchor's gentle voice saying, "He passed peacefully just as he lived in his final years." When reporters reached out to Robert Duvall, he stayed silent for a long time before answering. They say he went naturally. Then why did the watch stop at 3:17 and the camera drive disappear? He stubbed out his cigarette, eyes drifting, then added in a gravelly voice, "I asked the police just one question. Did they examine the kitchen properly?" That wasn't a random remark. To Duvall, the kitchen was where Hackman kept what he valued most: handwritten drafts, a few letters, some never-released paintings. Police didn't record that detail. They treated this as a routine death wrapped up neatly in 2 days. But to Duvall, that silence was anything but normal. He said Hackman didn't believe in easy endings. And so when he heard that his friend had left too quietly, he knew that somewhere inside that still house in Santa Fe, something remained unsaid. I've read hundreds of death reports in my life, but I've never seen one so tidy it becomes absurd. After the case was closed, Santa Fe police thought they'd completed a simple file. But as forensic results came out, small pieces began to misalign. And Robert Duvall, who had worked with Hackman for decades, was the first to see it. He said, "When I read the initial report, I knew something was off. Gene wasn't the kind of man who'd leave a house as spotless as a hotel." The autopsy report stated that Betsy Arakawa died 7 days before Hackman. The cause was identified as hantavirus infection, an extremely rare virus transmitted through contact with rodents. Yet the crime scene team found no sign of mice or droppings in the house. No trace of the virus appeared in the food water or even in the air filtration system. The house was sealed clean, nearly sterile, an environment where a naturally occurring virus would be unlikely to persist. In addition, Hackman was determined to have died of acute heart failure. But when medical examiner Stephen Marks examined the body, he added a short note to the file: body condition, unusually well maintained for a person living alone 7 days after spouse's death. What did that mean? It meant that during those 7 days, Hackman showed no signs of exhaustion or dehydration. His skin was clean nails, neatly trimmed, beard shaved, clothes folded and placed on a bedroom chair. No body odor, no grime. A 95-year-old man with heart disease, living alone, having lost his companion, yet the house remained immaculate. Impossible. Police also noted that the dog's bowls were freshly tended. Dry kibble was heaped full water in the bowls was clear, with a few tiny bubbles signs. It had been replaced within 24 hours of their arrival. The 2 surviving dogs were healthy, neither hungry nor dehydrated. That could only happen if someone had been entering the house regularly, at least once a day. The trash was tidy. In a peculiar way, bins, emptied newspapers, and bills stacked neatly in the mailbox area, as if someone had been maintaining the home while its owners were already gone. At this point, Duvall paused in the interview, his voice rough. Gene never let anyone touch his house except Betsy. If someone came in after she died, that someone wasn't a friend. But there was an even more chilling detail. In Hackman's hand, police found a small folded note, damp with sweat. Written in blue, ballpoint messy but legible, were the words "No more lies." No one knows when he wrote it or for whom. The scene report listed it simply as a note with no legal value. But to Duvall, it wasn't just a message. Gene used to say, in Hollywood, truth doesn't die, only the person who speaks it. And now, he was silent. Another detail from the autopsy files was omitted from public summaries in Hackman's electronic storage. The security camera drive had been wiped, but there were traces showing that someone had accessed the system 48 hours before his death. The IP address originated from a private local network in the Santa Fe area, but the identity couldn't be determined. This coincided eerily with the last phone call Robert Duvall received from Hackman roughly 5 days before he passed. Duvall recalled in the interview, "It was midnight. I remember because my wall clock read exactly 12:46. Gene called, his voice shaky and hoarse, like he was trying to speak quickly before the line died. He said, 'Bob, if I go first, don't let them rewrite my story.' I asked, 'Who are they?' He was silent for a few seconds, then said, "The ones who bought my silence." Then the call cut. At the time, Duvall thought he meant old producers, the people who had steered Hollywood's media machine through the 80s and 90s. He didn't imagine that only days later, Hackman would truly be gone under circumstances police called natural, even as each detail whispered the opposite. When independent investigative reporters reviewed the records, they found a 4.5-hour gap in the power meter data, matching the 600 a.m. window, the period when Hackman is believed to have died. The electricity had been cut, disabling cameras, alarms, and automated devices. Later, the power was restored manually. There was no technical reason for this outage, especially since the entire neighborhood remained powered. And no one, including maintenance staff, was logged as entering the home during that time. Hearing this, Duvall gave a dry laugh. He looked down at a cup of cold coffee and spoke softly. 7 days. A woman dies of a virus that isn't there. A man appears groomed, as if prepared in advance. 2 dogs fed on schedule. And a note that says, "No more lies." If that's normal, I don't know what abnormal is. And that was when people realized Gene Hackman's peaceful death was no longer a closed story. It had begun to open a picture full of gaps, where every small detail seemed to be trying to say what all of Hollywood would rather no one hear. Jeannie always said, if you refuse to bow to Hollywood, they'll find a way to make you disappear, not from the screen, but from memory itself. After the autopsy reports were released and the strange details spread, the press began digging into Gene Hackman's past and uncovered a string of long simmering conflicts that might be the very reason he was erased from Hollywood. According to Duvall, it all began around 2001, when Hackman was offered the lead in a large-scale project by one of the most powerful producers of the time, Harold Connery, a man with close ties to several major studios in Los Angeles. The project was touted as a film with a humanitarian message, but Hackman soon realized its funding showed signs of money laundering through offshore private funds. At a private meeting in Beverly Hills, when Connery slid over the contract and a massive payday, Hackman said one short line that chilled the room. "I don't act in films built on lies." He set the pen down, stood up, and walked out. 3 months later, every project tied to him suddenly stopped. Studios stopped calling. Reporters couldn't reach him. Glowing profiles vanished from major magazines, replaced by absolute silence. Duvall recalled, "I called Gene a few times, but he didn't pick up. When I saw him again in Santa Fe, he just smiled and said, 'They found a way to make me invisible.'" From 2004, after Welcome to Mooseport, Hackman officially announced his retirement. But according to those close to him, he still wrote every day, not scripts, but a memoir. In a small, local interview, he once said, "If anyone wants the truth about Hollywood, wait until I'm gone. It'll tell itself." After his death, police found Hackman's personal computer in his study, but the hard drive had been removed. His cloud backup also disappeared just one day, after the house was sealed by police. There were no signs of an external hack. Someone had to enter the house in person, take the data wipe every copy, and do it very professionally. Duvall insisted he had seen the first draft of that memoir in late 2023. He said in it, "Gene wrote about things I'd never heard anyone dare to say." He wrote that dark funds stood behind many major films and that a few stars had covered scandals with money from truly powerful people. He ended with, "If I say everything, some will lose everything." No one knows whether those lines still exist because that hard drive was the first thing taken after his death. Another detail that Duvall can't let go of is the dog locked in the wardrobe. Police claimed the animal accidentally crawled in and got stuck, but Duvall countered Zena would never crawl into a closet. She shadowed Gene all day. If she was locked in, someone else did it. And the only reason to lock the dog away was to keep it from barking, meaning the person needed quiet enough time to work in the house, take what they wanted, then leave without being noticed. The remaining traces seemed to confirm this theory. The computer drive was removed without a scratch, showing the person knew the location and security codes. The back door was left nearly closed with hinges loosened by a professional screwdriver. The gouges on the closet door match Hackman's estimated time of death, meaning the dog was locked away while he was still alive. Duvall shook his head when asked about the natural death theory. Gene used to say, "They don't need to kill you to make you disappear. All they have to do is erase your story, erase what you wrote, and that's enough." From those scattered pieces, a far more unsettling scenario comes into focus. Someone, maybe an insider or someone hired, entered the house after Betsy passed, cleaned up, took the hard drive containing the memoir draft, locked the dog to keep it quiet, then staged Hackman's death to look like a natural heart failure. Afterward, they restored the power, closed up, and left before the neighbors noticed. Everything happened quietly, precisely, without a flaw, as if pre-planned. And if that theory is true, then Gene Hackman's death wasn't the tragedy of old age, but a deliberate ending designed to bury a memoir that could have shaken Hollywood. Robert Duvall closed with a line that gave people chills. "Gene told me if he died, don't believe any line written about him. Now I understand why." Gene's death wasn't a peaceful sleep. It was a production staged by people who know Hollywood's backstage too well. Gene Hackman's funeral was held privately on March 6, 2025, at a small chapel in Santa Fe. No star turnout, no press lenses, just a few family members and old friends, including Robert Duvall, Dustin Hoffman, and some colleagues from the 1970s. No eulogies, only a soft piano drifting through a cold afternoon. Everything unfolded simple and still, just as Hackman had lived in his later years. But only days after his ashes were laid to rest beside his wife, a surge of new irregularities appeared. First, at the Wells Fargo branch in Santa Fe, where Hackman maintained a personal account worth over 18 million film royalties, earnings from paintings and real estate holdings. When the legal representative checked, the entire sum had vanished. No withdrawal, no transfers, no signs of hacking. The bank logged a final access order on the morning of March 6th, the day of the funeral. At the same time, the original will Hackman signed in 2017 couldn't be found. Police discovered only a blurry photocopy in the safe, no notarized signature, and therefore legally invalid. Also on the day of the funeral, Andrew Clay Hackman's financial manager of nearly 15 years abruptly left the United States. His passport was scanned at Madrid airport, just hours after the interment ended. Duvall, hearing this, only sighed. "I told Gene never to trust anyone who holds your money too long. But he said they need to live." I get it. Gene always understood others, but no one ever really understood him. The story didn't end there. A month later, on underground auction circuits, in Europe, paintings signed G.H. Gene Hackman's initials began to appear. According to Le Figaro, The Desert After Rain sold in Zurich for over $400,000, and another work, Solitude in Blue, surfaced in Vienna under the listing Anonymous Artist from Hollywood. Experts confirmed the brushwork and signature as Hackman's, but provenance couldn't be traced. During the same period, the house at 42A Canyon Road remained sealed. Locals in Santa Fe said that each evening they still saw a faint light spilling from an upstairs window, even though the electricity had long been cut. Some said it was an illusion, but Duvall disagreed. When asked about the rumor, he said softly, "Homes where someone gets wronged stay lit not because of spirits, but because the truth hasn't been switched off." Duvall's final interview was conducted on May 22, 2025, at his private farm in Virginia. He was 95, voice, frail eyes, still bright. When Hackman's name came up, he paused for nearly a minute, then said slowly, "Gene's death wasn't a peaceful sleep. It was a production." He said that a week before the end, Hackman called him once more. That time, he said just one sentence, "Bob, they've come back." And that was the last time they spoke. After the death, Duvall rarely appeared in public. He declined all TV interviews, giving only one to The Guardian, where he left a message like a final note for his late friend, and perhaps for himself. Gene knew the rules. Hollywood will honor you when you comply, but when you refuse, it makes you disappear. And when it erases your name, it does it with a smile. Santa Fe at dusk, the western hills bathed red. House 42A is now just an empty frame of brick, its glass catching the last light. An elderly neighbor said that at sunset, he still hears a door click shut, then silence. No one enters, no one tidies up, no one wants to come near. Robert Duvall never returned. He said that just by looking at that sunset, he knew some deaths need no proof because their silence is the greatest proof of all. And so Gene Hackman, the man who once made the world listen, was finally forced to say goodbye with silence. Some die and the world mourns. Others must vanish so the world forgets they ever existed. The story of Gene Hackman closes, like his life, quiet, without an audience, without applause, leaving only questions no one wants to answer. Police declared the case closed. The press stopped saying his name. Hollywood moved on to newer faces, newer tales, dreams, burnished by light, more artificial than ever. But to those who knew Gene Hackman, that silence will never be normal. He wasn't just an actor. He was a symbol for those who dare to tell the truth and stand against the glittering machine of secrets, power, and control. His death, or rather his erasure, is not simply a personal tragedy, but a warning about the price of honesty in a world built on pretense. In the last year of his life, Robert Duvall said, "Looking back, I'm not afraid of death. I'm afraid of the day I no longer have the strength to tell the truth." And Gene, he didn't get the chance. More than half a century after the golden statues and lauded roles, what remains isn't a title, but a mystery, an absence that makes anyone who speaks Gene Hackman's name feel as though they're staring into the darkness behind Hollywood's stage. The house on Canyon Road still stands silent in Santa Fe's deep red sunset. Desert wind slips through a weathered doorframe, carrying the scent of wood, of time, and perhaps of things never spoken. No one knows whether the truth will ever be revealed. Only this in a world where the lights illuminate everything except the truth. Gene Hackman's silence may be the most powerful voice he left behind. If you believe there are always hidden corners behind Hollywood's shine, help share this a story. Tap the heart, share the video, and leave your thoughts below. Do you think Gene Hackman truly left in peace? Or did he become the target of a force determined to erase him forever? Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss more mysteries from the world behind the stage, where sometimes silence is more terrifying than death itself.